All right. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this platform. This is the mentor Hampio Kliman who is presenting this lesson before you. And of course, if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing, hitting the like button. Don't forget to share to others. Now, listen, make sure that you subscribe, you hit the like button because every time content is uploaded, you will need to access our lessons at once. You can only do that only if you subscribe. Thank you so much. Let's proceed. This is a civic education paper which was written in 2025 on Wednesday, 6th August. It was a 2 hours, 30 minutes paper. Okay. So we start with the first question. The instructions were that we, of course, circle the answer the answer of our choice. We just circle it and then basically that's it. The constitution that can be altered only. So this is a constitution that can be changed or altered. They've used the term only. Then they say through special procedure. If a constitution can be only changed through a special procedure or after following a certain delegation, then that simply means that constitution is rigid. It cannot be flexible because a constitution that is flexible can actually be changed or altered at any period of time depending with occasions in that particular country or environment. A written constitution, of course, is a legal entity, but it doesn't suit in this particular statement that has been given, and written is very far. So our best answer is rigid. Now, according to the Local Government Act of 1991, councils were to be classified in order of seniority. Okay, so it has to start as a city, of course, a city, then it will go to a municipal, okay, municipal council. From municipal council, then it has to be at the district level. Okay, so city, municipal, or you can just call it, this is how I best used to remember it. So it says CMD. So city, municipal, and then district. Okay, that's your best answer. CMD. Periodic elections are an indispensable part of democratic governance. According to the Zambian constitution, when are general elections held? Of course, elections are usually held on 13th August. Okay, every after 5 years. So 13th August is the second week. Okay, 13th is the second week. So second Thursday of August every 5 years. Okay, 13th is the second week. Of course, you know what that means. Okay. A naturalized citizen can lose Zambian citizenship for any of the following, except A is an acquisition of a new citizenship of another country, born in or outside Zambia after the commencement of the 1996 amended constitution, committing a serious crime or engaging in unacceptable activities, deserting from military service when called upon to do so by the state. So all of the above actually are answers except there is only one, which is B. Okay. You can't lose citizenship for being born in Zambia or outside Zambia. It doesn't happen that way. So actually for this particular question, it's actually general knowledge. You can actually see the answer immediately after you read. And that is what I want you to apply as you write your civic education. Make sure that you read the answers and understand. Sometimes you don't even need to know the answer from the books. You can know it just right there in the exam. Okay, we go to the next question. Which of the following is an example of economic, social, and cultural right? So the moment you see economic, you are simply talking about things like employment, okay, rights to get in the stock exchange, right to mount a business, right to work, all those things. Okay, so it is employment. Okay, the moment you just see socio-economic activities, think of things that are generating income in a particular family. Members of a society are bound together by ideas, values, and standards of behavior, which give meaning to their lives. This means that culture is, okay, let me understand it. Members of a society are bound together by ideas, values, and standards of behavior, which give meaning to their lives. Okay, so you discover that this is a society where the elderly people actually, they inform their children and their grandchildren about their set values and culture, how they live, how they hunt, how they pray, how they worship. And eventually when those children grow up, they also will give or transfer that information to their incoming generation. And they are bound by those values. They can't change. Okay? If they worship these other gods, that is their set culture. If at all they do this, that is their set culture. You can't change them. They are bound by those particular rules and set values. This implies that culture is shared. Okay. Panadol is a good example of that substance. You buy it in shops. You can buy it in chemists. You can buy it even on Pandemba. You can buy a tablet of Panadol. So it is an over-the-counter drug because you can buy it even in a shop. Which of the following does not fall under civic organizations? Okay, operating young vote. So when they say civic organizations, they are simply talking about things that have the best interests of the state. Okay, so operating young vote, this one already is an answer. The anti-voter apathy, this one is an answer. The Foundation for Democratic Process, this one is an answer. Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this is economic, not civic. So D does not, okay, fall under civic organizations. Mrs. Moshi, an agent of one of the insurance companies, explained to her clients the reasons for buying insurance. Which one is not? Bring someone back to their original position after accident, true. Designed to give protection from specific risk, true. Because when let's say you invest your money in a company, then that company defaults. If you were insured, likely you are to receive your money. Debt servicing risks, true. You borrow money from a certain company, you insure that agreement. Suppose you default, your business fails, your insurance company will cover you. Profit making, you don't make money through insurance. You don't. Okay? The duty that lies on the prosecution to prove the criminal allegation against the accused is known as burden of proof. Okay, this one I know you knew it. It's a burden of proof. Dash refers to similar opportunities of development given to males and females without any set limitations. That is equality. Okay? Please don't make a mistake of saying equity. Okay? You change everything. Okay, so basically that is just equality. Methods of resolving conflicts that allow the parties concerned to proceed to the public courts of law is called A, arbitration, B, litigation, C, mediation, D, negotiation. Okay, so the best answer is simply litigation. That's why you have to go to the courts of law. Negotiation, you know what that means. Okay? Friga mwakamba, just aside. You just talk about it. Okay? No, let's do this, this, and this, and this. We reach at this set agreement point. We resolve the issue. Okay? Mediation, of course, someone has to come in between, eventually talk to the two of you and reach at a certain set point agreement. Okay, so of course, this is the answer. According to the Zambian law, a child is any person who is, best answer is simply 18 years or below. Okay, remember they are saying a child. If they said a minor, you would have said 15 years. But if they say a child, you say 18 years or below. A minor is someone who is 15 years or below. Which provision of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child provides for children with disability? Okay, basic health and welfare. All right, okay. Education, leisure. So this disqualifies. Family, environment, and alternative care. Special protection measures. I'm sure all of us have heard about something called social welfare. Social welfare is an organization that looks after children of disability or vulnerable children. Okay? So sometimes you'd hear, social welfare, they will support. So those guys are the ones that are responsible for looking after vulnerable children and children with disability, of course. Look out for those answers. Which of the following documents addresses the main evil? The moment you just hear evils and hunger, no, it is the Charter of Monday of 1222. This one is direct. Marriage as a contract creates, of course, obligations and rights. Okay. The following table shows statistics collected by a development expert for country X. What is the population for country X? Okay, so population is equal to your GLP over per capita income. So this is going to be like 120 million over 20. So it's going to be like 6. Let me see. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this 6 also. Okay, basically our answer is simply B. So just get this value, divide it by this. You'll find your population. So I'm saying your civic education is actually very interesting and simple. You just have to study it properly and make sure you know what you're doing. Poor people suffer social exclusion. This means that they are prevented from being members of society. No. By people from feeling it's not the people that actually make them feel this way. It is poverty. Okay? By poverty from participating as equals in society, yes. By society, it is not the society, okay, that does this. It's poverty. As I see, which level of biodiversity is a measure of variability with and between species? They've used the term species, implying everything, including you human beings. Biodiversity, you are simply talking about differences in terms of their biological makeup. We've got people that are tall, we have people that are short, we have people that are chubby, we have people that are thin, we have people that have brown eyes, we have people that have blue eyes, we have people that have that are living with albinism, we have people that are black. All of them are beautiful in their own creation and in their own world. And that is what we are calling as biodiversity. So you are simply talking about genetic diversity. Okay? Foreign aid means, okay, let me say I do not know the answer. Let's say I do not know the answer. I want to teach you how to answer civic education. Let's say I don't know the answer. Let me read. Foreign aids means selling and buying of goods and services. This is a transaction. Okay? Spending more money on servicing a debt. This doesn't even make sense at all. Now, look at this answer. I don't know the answer, but I want you to look at this answer. The international transfer of funds, goods, and services in form of loans and grants from one country to another. Honestly, if you don't choose this answer, you deserve a whip. Okay? Whip you. So the answer is C. The rate at which a country... do I even need to read this? This is wrong. So if you don't choose C, then there is something literally wrong with you. Okay? That was just a joke anyway. But basically, yeah, you deserve a whip. Okay, so this was our last multiple choice question. Let's go to B. Explain the following concepts in relation to citizenship. They say repatriation. So, what does it mean when you say repatriation? It is simply the process of returning a person, okay, to their country of origin. You return a person to a country where they were born from, or to a country of their origin. Often afterward, displacement, deportation, or loss of citizenship. Suppose you are staying in Zambia. Okay. Let me just give an example. Suppose you are staying in a certain country, okay, outside Zambia. Then you are found with a case to answer, this is trafficking of substances, okay? You are trafficking substances and stuff. Now, the government of the day of that particular country has a right to deport you back to your country. So we say you have been repatriated. Okay? You have been repatriated. Expatriation. This is the voluntary act by which a citizen gives up their original citizenship and permanently leaves their country to settle in another country. All of a sudden you just say, I feel like I need to level up, or I will be going to another country where I will be working from forever. There is work there, there is employment. You decide to take you and your family to a certain country. Then you say, I give up on my citizenship of this country because I'm leaving. You go to another country to stay. So we say that is, you've been expatriated. Okay? Renunciation. This is the formal act by which a citizen, the key, please, you don't have to miss this, in which a citizen legally gives up or surrender his or her citizenship. Renunciation, or to renounce, is to simply give up on your own citizenship of that particular country you are staying in legally. Okay? Now, I want you to tell me what a presidential grant is. Send your answer on 0777 66 40 46. Okay? Send this on WhatsApp, and then I will be able to respond to you. Explain the behavioral traits portrayed by youths who abuse drugs. This is something that we see almost every day in the society. So, of course, youths that abuse drugs, they are very, very much aggressive. Of course, they do have... So, make sure these come out. These people are aggressive. They've got a violent behavior. And also, they are irritable. Okay? They are irritable. Any mistake, you just, make a mistake, you maybe step on them, you would be able to see their action, towards you. Okay? So they are actually aggressive. Most of them are violent and also irritable. They tend to isolate themselves from family and friends because they fear to be judged. Okay, that one is going to see me that I smoke, That one is going to see me that I drink. That one will see me that I'm doing this, because of the fear of them being judged by their friends and their families. They tend to isolate themselves and they gang up in closed areas where they can't be seen, okay, but interact as a group. They experience a decline in their academic performance because their concentration is on because their concentration is 100% substance abuse. Usually, most of the times, they focus less on school. They just focus on other things, drugs, stuff. So the academic performance eventually declines. Don't forget this point. They steal and constantly keep asking or borrowing money. At some point, they may not have money to use for, they may not have money to buy drugs, to buy substances and other things. And because they do not have that money, they will keep on borrowing money from others, or they may keep asking money in the streets. Okay, so this point is actually very important. They usually experience burnouts and eventually lose interest in most important activities. So usually what happens is they experience this burnout. When I say burnout, I mean they just lose interest in doing what used to excite them. Okay? All of a sudden, they no longer feel like going for work. They no longer feel like doing a business, doing a side hustle. It doesn't make sense anymore. They just want to sit and eventually resort to substance abuse. They involve themselves in high-risk behaviors. Yes, this is actually very true, because in most cases, these are people that resort to activities such as sexual activities, sharing of needles, sexual activities that are so risky of contracting diseases. And this gives them, this gives them the chances of them, getting diseases and eventually increasing the burden of care on their families. Okay? They eventually disregard personal hygiene. In most cases, if you check their personal hygiene, you check how they look, you check how their teeth, you'd be able to see that there's literally something wrong here. In most cases, oftentimes, most of them look dirty. Look at their clothes, you look at their hair, you look at their skin, you can tell this person is not really taking care of themselves. I want you to add yours. You can add yours here. Okay. So what is the summary for this? You talk in terms of their behavior. Talk in terms of their behavior: aggressive, violent, irritable. 2, talk about academic performance. Talk about them isolating themselves from their family. Talk about money. They like borrowing or asking for money. Talk about personal hygiene. Okay. Talk about high-risk behavior. How they engage themselves in high-risk behavior. Those points, you should just expand them. You have the answer. Explain the concept conflict resolution. So conflict resolution is just the process by which individuals or parties who engaged in a disagreement, a conflict, or a violent behavior eventually reach a mutual, peaceful, acceptable settlement. Let's say 2 parties disagree. They engage in a violent behavior, they quarrel, they fight. Eventually, after some time, they take a seat and eventually just resolve that issue. They reach a mutual aspect of understanding where both parties are comfortable with the agreement made. That is what we call conflict resolution. List 2 methods of promoting peace. Of course, the first one is promoting a culture of peace. Okay? Promoting a culture of peace. The second one is dialogue and negotiation. Very good example is what you see happening in other Western countries, Western worlds, where you see this country is fighting with this country, after a series of missiles and bullets, all of a sudden, at some point, they will now say, peace, let's agree, let's negotiate. We need to, put everything in the best interest of our people. We don't need to be destroying our countries, reaching disagreements that really don't matter. You see those things on TV. Okay? Explain why conflicts involving values are usually difficult to resolve. Conflicts that are involving values are actually very, very difficult to resolve. Why? Because there is no value which is superior than the other. Everyone is accredited to their own value. If what you want does not sit well with what I believe in, then literally I won't be able to accept it. And if what I want to impose on you, you don't believe in it, you won't accept it. That is number one. Okay? And also because values are non-negotiable oftentimes. They are non-negotiable. What you believe in is what you believe in. What I believe in is what I believe in. If we have a disagreement on religion, there is no way you would convince me worship this God based on negotiation. Because what I believe in is what I believe in. What you also believe in is what you also believe in. Okay, so they are non-negotiable. That is number one. No set value is superior than the other. That is number two. And because they are deeply held beliefs, okay, oftentimes they involve emotions. Oftentimes values involve emotions. State two examples of direct violence: assault and murder. Okay, assault and murder. You can write as many as you can, Study the table on specialized human rights instruments and answer the questions that follow. We've got specialized instrument and then year adopted. Which instrument was adopted in the 1965? It is simply the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. The International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Okay, that's A. Describe two actions state parties are expected to undertake to enforce the instrument A. So the first one is simply to adopt legislative measures that prohibit and eliminate racial discrimination. Okay? To simply adopt legislative measures that prohibit and eliminate racial discriminations. And also to guarantee effective protection. Okay? To guarantee effective protection and protection and remedies through competent national tribunals for victims of discriminations. Okay. What do the acronyms CEDAW stand for? Okay, so it simply stands for Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. When was CEDAW adopted? Of course, it's 1979. Name the specialized instruments B and C. Okay. Name the specialized instruments B and C. So B is simply the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment of Punishment, which is CAT. Or you can just say Convention Against Torture. C is just the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Convention on the Rights of the Child. State the first optional protocol to C. State the first optional protocol to C. Okay, so it is simply the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, on the involvement of children in armed conflicts. Okay, the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, on the involvement of children in armed conflicts. So this particular question, you are going to do it. I want you to send, this is going to be homework. Send it to my number 0777 66 40 46. This is going to be your question. Okay, this one. If you found this lesson interesting and helpful, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We are to post more content in mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology. And that implies that your physics and chemistry is your science. So of course it's biology, science, mathematics, civic education, and other, of course, English by other tutors. HC Learning Academy remains the best. And of course, if you'd want to enroll for personal tuitions, inbox on this particular number. We'll be able to register you for everyday lessons at HC Learning Academy. We are consistent to ensure you get quality and better results. Thank you so much.